We begin with Madeline Rivera, who is live in Washington, D.C., with the very latest on the tragedy that is rocking our nation's capital. Hi, Maddie.
Hi, good morning, Carly. The president sharing the sad news that 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom has passed away after an alleged gunman ambushed her and another Guard member on Wednesday.
Just seconds before I went on, right now I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life.
The family of 24-year-old Andrew Wolf is asking for prayers. The death of Beckstrom means the suspect, 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal, will likely face upgraded charges. Here's the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jeanine Pirro, talking about that.
We are praying that they survive and that the highest charge will not have to be murder in the first degree. But make no mistake, if they do not, that will certainly be the charge.
Lakhanwal came into the U.S. in 2021. He was granted asylum this spring. The administration is calling into question the vetting process for Afghan refugees. But Lakhanwal worked with the CIA in Kandahar, Afghanistan, serving in an elite counterterrorism unit operated by the agency. As a member of the Zero Unit, he would have gone through a vigorous screening process. Afghan evac says that includes biometric screening, biographic checks, and in-person interviews. Still, the president is doubling down, saying, "I will permanently pause migration from all third-world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe Biden's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States." The president says he will be ending federal benefits for non-citizens, denaturalizing migrants who he says undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who poses a security risk. Carly.
Okay, Madeline Rivera, live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you. Let's bring in former Assistant FBI Director Chris Swecker. Chris, thank you so much for joining us as we talk about this tragic turn of events. And obviously,
Carly.
There are a lot of questions when it comes to this suspect, who, as Maddie was just laying out, worked for this CIA-backed military unit during the war in Afghanistan and was living in Washington State with his wife and 5 children. So he had a family unit. He was not a loner. A lot of questions over why and how this could have happened. When you look at his background, what do you think?
Well, let's start with the premise that Afghanistan in the post-Biden withdrawal era is a terrorist haven. I mean, Al-Qaeda is still there, ISIS is still there. There's actually battling it out in and around the area where this shooter came from. So we know that this is a problem area, and this is an area where if you're going to bring people in, and apparently over 70,000 Afghan refugees were resettled very quickly, you darn well better vet these people in a way that gives you confidence that they're not still affiliated with some type of terrorist organization or in touch with them. So I get the sense that once they got here, there wasn't a whole lot of other vetting or monitoring that took place after they got here. And, here's a guy that was settled in Washington State with his 5 kids, was given the asylum and shelter of this country and all the rights and all the privileges. And look what he does, a heartbreaking loss of this young National Guardsman who is such a patriot from the state of West Virginia, volunteered to work in the district. So this is going to cause a real hard look at this asylum program and others, I understand, and that's one positive thing.
Well, on that note, a lot has transpired overnight when it comes to vetting and immigration, and the president had previously said that there would be a review of all asylum cases and green cards issued under President Biden, and now it's been announced that there's going to be a permanent pause on immigration from what the administration is describing third world countries. I mean, this announcement is obviously going to be met with some criticism from certain members of Congress and elected leaders. But what do you think? Is a pause in immigration what is needed to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again?
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I mean, Trump did this in his first administration. He met with a lot of criticism. That doesn't stop him. I think it's needed. I mean, during the Biden administration, 17, 18 million people came to this country, most of them illegally, without vetting. We got all the gotaways. So it's impossible that terrorists and terrorist organizations have not infiltrated into the United States. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to pause and get caught up on these people. You know, so many of them, I'm not saying all of them, but many of them are criminals or would-be terrorists coming from countries that you can't vet. They don't keep criminal records there. You can't talk to anybody about them. They're just they're ghosts as they come in. And there's an underground society out there in many of our cities like Dearborn and Minneapolis and other places where we just don't know who's in this country.
Yeah, and you know, when you look back at the withdrawal from Afghanistan and think about those plane loads filled with people, it was a situation where you could simultaneously feel very bad for the people on board those planes and also deeply worried about the fact that all of those people are coming from an adversarial nation that we were just at war with and we're ultimately going to end up in this country. But when you look at this particular suspect, he seemed on paper to be like somebody that any administration would want to grant asylum to because of that severe vetting process that he went through while he was working for this CIA-backed military unit during the war. So could this have been prevented?
I mean, anything that's predictable is preventable. You know, and in this case, I think it is predictable that someone that came from a terrorist hotbed country, you know, no matter, and I'm a little skeptical of the level of vetting itself because, you know, where are the records? I mean, in Afghanistan, there's nothing to look at. And, you know, he did serve with a unit backed by the CIA, but I'm just very skeptical of the level of vetting and in particular the follow-up that took place after they got here. Yeah. You know, who are they in touch with? They should be like a parolee. They ought to check in about once a month and get updated on what's going on with them. Now, I'm not, you know, maybe that this person escaped any type of ground radar, if you will, but I think we're going to find, like every other mass shooter in this country that's conducted an act like this, that they were flashing red and nobody said anything about it.
That's a great point, Chris. And, you know, we don't know what exactly went wrong, but something certainly did. And when you think about these two victims, Sarah Beckstrom, she was just 20 years old, which means that she was just 15 or 16 years old during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I mean, she was a kid. She was just a teenager when that took place. And when you think about Andrew Wolf, he played varsity baseball in high school, and his friends are describing him as genuinely one of the nicest people you could ever meet. Just really quickly as we wrap things up here, your reflections on these two individuals and the type of person it takes to go into the National Guard and serve our nation in this way.
Yeah, I served alongside them in Iraq in 2003. The young lady was from an MP unit. She was trained as an MP. And the other young man, I mean, he's 4 years older than my grandson. I can't imagine the heartbreak of this loss. And, you know, it takes a special kind of patriot from places like West Virginia, the heartland of America, that volunteer for military service these days. They want to go help others. They want to do something meaningful and serve their country. God bless them. I think there's a special place, you know, up there in heaven for her. Yeah. And I think this whole nation needs to get behind, you know, what they're trying to do in our nation's capital, the one place where we ought to be safe.
Heartbreak is most certainly the correct word. We're a nation in mourning right now, and I just hope that these two families feel that as we all grieve together. Former Assistant FBI Director Chris Swecker, we thank you so much for joining us this morning.
This story is only getting bigger, and the fallout from Trump's immigration crackdown is going to be massive. So if you want the real, unfiltered breakdowns, hit subscribe, stay tuned, and let's keep cutting through the noise together.